Hey there and welcome to No Recipe Required. Tonight I've got a really cool pasta dish for you. I had this a few weeks ago at actually a Michelin Star restaurant. It was killer. I've fiddled with it, changed a few things, made it a little bit more accessible and easy, and I think you're going to love it. What we're going to do, I'm going to use some Cavatelli pasta, which is a little short pasta with some folds in it, and some duck confit. That's the leg of the duck. We're going to break some off. It adds a great flavor to the pasta. We're going to throw some mushrooms in there and a little bit of greens. It's really an awesome dish. We made it. I loved it. My wife loved it. Everybody loved it. Let's go ahead and get started.
For our pasta tonight, we're going to use a duck confit. Now, what is duck confit? Confit is it's a French term. It essentially means cooked in fat. And so in this case, it is a duck leg. When people refer to duck confit, generally it is a duck leg that has been cooked in fat. And as we unwrap it, you can see this all is duck fat. It's obviously, fairly fatty, but it's absolutely delicious. And we're not really going to be eating all that fat, so you don't need to worry too much about it. I usually see them come like this, shrink wrapped, and they're a little tough to work with when they come cold like this. The meat, it's all cooked. You could just bite right into it and be done with it, but it is kind of tough to break apart. And for our pasta dish, we are going to break it apart. So what I like to do, just take a little pot here and heat it up. Put it in like a 350 degree oven for about 20 minutes. All that fat will kind of render out, meat will get soft, and we'll be able to take it off the bone for our pasta. Got a little bit of olive oil in our pan here over nice medium-high heat. I'm going to add our mushrooms and just saute these down over the next 15 minutes or so. I just pulled my duck confit out of the oven. It took about 15 minutes or so to get heated through. And you're still going to have the duck skin, which is pretty apparent on the meat. And for this particular recipe, I don't really need the skin. So I'm just going to kind of pull that off. It should slide off fairly easily. And then underneath that meat, you've got the shredded, or the meat, sorry, that you can just kind of shred right off the bone and pull it down into strips. Essentially, is what we want. Like shredded pork or any kind of shredded meat like that. We're just going to take this this duck, which is already fully cooked, and get maybe a single breast or single leg like this. Probably good for 4 servings. For our pasta, we want to make sure we salt plenty of boiling water, and then add it to our water. Now I've got my mushrooms. They're just about done, and I'm okay with that because I can easily hold the mushrooms and wait for the pasta. The shape of pasta that I'm using here is like a Cavatelli, which is kind of like an oval shape like this. It's got a little ridge. Let me see if I can find an open one. Kind of a ridge running down the middle where it's actually going to open up a little bit. It's a great little place for the sauce to hide. You can you can certainly use any kind of short pasta like this. You want to make sure you give it a little stir when you put it in there, and then let it go to al dente. We'll come back just before this is done. We'll finish our sauce. My mushrooms are just about done. I've got them kind of over medium-low heat or so because I slowed them down because I want to try and time my pasta along with my my sauce here. Better have the sauce to wait for the pasta than the pasta to wait for the sauce. That's what I say. So I just added a little bit of shallot, and I actually, it's a tiny bit dry. This happens to be a little bit of that duck fat that came off the leg of the chicken. Good to save that at least till the end of the dish, if not permanently in the freezer, because it is a delicious little treat. With the shallot there, I'm going to let those go until they are softened up. My shallots are softened, so I'm going to throw in a couple cloves of garlic and a good healthy pinch of rosemary. Those are not going to take long. So once they go for about 30 seconds, we're going to add about half a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup of chicken stock. Doesn't take long for that garlic to cook down or to soften up. I've got some chicken stock there, that I just heated up to save myself a little bit of time. And then I'm going to add in our duck meat. I'm going to crank the heat up to high and just let this reduce down by about half. I can see I can use a little bit more stock in there. And this is essentially going to be our sauce for our my pasta is about a minute away from being done. So that is when I'm going to drain it out of the water and add it to my sauce here. Let it finish cooking with my duck, with my mushrooms, and it is going to it's going to help thicken that sauce. I do need to make sure I season it with salt and with pepper. And I'm just going to let this go for about a minute. Toss it every once in a while. Okay, we've been going about a minute or so. High heat pasta in the sauce, and you can see there's still a fair amount of broth left in there, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to finish this off with a little bit of green. I happen to be using some dandelion greens, and you can just tear them up a little bit. You don't have to be neat or pretty. They're going to wilt down really quickly in the pasta. Give a nice kind of tart flavor, bitter flavor, and obviously a great rich color. You can use chard, you can use spinach, you can use almost anything in here. And then once those work in, you can see them breaking down already. I'm just going to turn the heat off. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of butter in a couple pieces, and that's going to help get that sauce nice and rich. And about an equal amount, a couple tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. Toss these in, give it a final taste to make sure the salt and pepper are right on for you. And then we're going to go ahead and plate this up. Let's go ahead and plate up our Cavatelli with mushroom and duck confit. A little bit of dandelion green in there. It's a stunning dish. It's one that I actually had in a super nice Michelin Star restaurant. Stole the idea. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. I'm going to shave just a little bit of Parmesan cheese over the top. And there you go. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.